Have you ever reached a point in your life, or maybe your career, where just sheer, undeniable effort wasn't enough?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is just a uniquely frustrating human experience for sure.
Right, like you know the feeling. You are maximizing every single ounce of your natural talent. You're outworking absolutely everyone else in the room, but you still hit this invisible, unbreakable glass ceiling.
Yeah, doing everything right, playing your absolute hardest, and then realizing the math still just isn't in your favor. It's tough.
It really is. And that feeling, that invisible wall, is exactly what we're exploring in today's deep dive.
It's a really fascinating one today.
It is. We are looking at the fascinating and honestly sometimes heartbreaking career of Alex de Minaur. So he's Australia's top-ranked tennis player, currently sitting at world number 6.
And he recently even touched no five.
Yeah, exactly, no five. And he relentlessly outruns and outworks almost everyone on the ATP tour. But, and here's the big mystery, he has hit a complete wall against the absolute elite of the sport, specifically Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner.
Yeah, it's a hard roadblock.
So to figure out why this is happening, we're pulling from this massive stack of recent ATP match analytics, post-match press conferences from the 2026 Australian Open, and some really deep tactical breakdowns from top sports journalists.
There is a lot to get through.
There really is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this because, to understand the ceiling, we first have to understand the foundation. Who is Alex de Minaur when he actually steps onto a tennis court?
Well, his background actually perfectly sets up his on-court identity. He was born in Sydney, but he was raised largely in Spain, and he has this mix of Uruguayan and Spanish heritage.
Right, which brings a really unique flavor to his game.
Exactly. But his defining characteristic on the tour, like the thing absolutely everyone knows him for, is his speed. I mean, they don't call him the speed demon for nothing.
No, they definitely don't. He is so fast.
Insanely fast.
Mm.
His entire game is built on just otherworldly agility and defense.
Yeah.
He is a classic counterpuncher. He retrieves balls that would be clean, untouchable winners against 99% of other players.
Yeah, he just uses his legs to meticulously construct points.
Exactly. He essentially suffocates his opponents. He just makes them play one extra ball over and over again until they finally just crack.
And he brings this incredibly infectious, scrappy energy to the court, too. Like, I loved reading this recent detail from our sources. Just this month, prepping for the 2026 Miami Open, he actually swapped out his trademark cap.
Oh, the cap he's worn for basically his entire career.
Yes, he swapped it for a headband. And fans online were saying they barely even recognized him. They were joking that the cap used to make him look like this overeager ball boy.
Yeah, I saw that. And the best part was the reaction from his fiancée, the British tennis player Katie Boulter.
Oh my gosh, yes. She leaned right into the joke online. She gave him the official stamp of approval, posting, "Majority shareholder approval granted. You may proceed."
Which is such a hilarious callback.
Right. To the Australian Open, where Jim Courier was joking that de Minaur, by getting engaged, was about to become the 49% shareholder of a great company.
Yeah. And Katie has proudly run with that 51% majority shareholder title ever since. It's great.
It really highlights that underdog, highly relatable spirit he projects. But, when I look at his actual game mechanics, the analogy that keeps coming to my mind is boxing.
Oh, boxing.
Yeah.
That's an interesting lens. How do you see those styles translating?
Well, it's like de Minaur is this exceptionally skilled, world-class lightweight boxer, right? But because of how tennis works, there are no weight classes. So he is forced to constantly fight in the heavyweight division.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, like he has the elite footwork.
Right.
He has the stamina to dodge and weave, slipping punches for 12 rounds straight. But at the end of the round, does he actually have the heavy knockout punch to end the fight?
Wow, yeah, that boxing analogy really gets to the absolute core of what critics have been highlighting for years. He just lacks a genuine weapon.
Right, a reliable knockout punch.
Exactly, because his style relies so heavily on absorbing other people's pace rather than creating his own, it takes a massive physical toll on his body. He doesn't generate that napalm-grade power easily from a stationary position.
Which means he has to work so much harder for every single point.
Way harder. So against the very best players, he often plays himself out of aggressive positions because he simply cannot hit through a really heavy ball. He's forced to run 3 times as far just to stay neutral in the rally.
And look, out-hustling people works brilliantly against the vast majority of the tour. He just exhausts them.
Oh, absolutely. It's highly effective against most guys.
But what happens when hustle meets a brick wall? Because when you look at his record against the absolute elite, those heavyweights who are completely immune to being worn down, the narrative changes entirely.
It really does. I mean, the statistics are just brutal. Let's look at his record against the two guys currently dominating the sport. Against Carlos Alcaraz, de Minaur is 0-6.
0-6.
He has never beaten him. But against Jannik Sinner, the numbers are somehow even worse. He is 0-13.
Wait, 0-13?
0-13. In their entire history of playing each other on the Pro Tour, de Minaur's only ever won 2 sets.
2 sets across 13 matches. That is staggering for a matchup between the world number 6 and the world number 2.
It's a complete mismatch on paper.
There was this vivid anecdote from a sports writer in the sources that really stuck with me. They compared de Minaur's 2025 Australian Open loss to Sinner, where he lost 6-3, 6-2, 6-1 to a humiliating Little League Mercy Rule defeat.
Ouch, that is harsh, but honestly pretty accurate for that match.
Just a total absolute shutdown where the opponent was essentially playing a different sport. But wait, I do have to push back a little bit on this idea of an unbreakable ceiling.
Okay, by all means, let's hear it.
De Minaur beat Novak Djokovic. He beat him at the 2024 United Cup, which actually snaps Djokovic's insane 43-match winning streak in Australia.
He did, yeah. That was a huge moment.
And he even crushed him in the first set at Wimbledon before eventually losing. So if de Minaur can expose the vulnerabilities of arguably the greatest player of all time, why are Sinner and Alcaraz so utterly impossible for him to crack?
What's fascinating here is the difference between playing a legend in the twilight of his career versus playing two athletes at the absolute apex of their physical peaks.
Okay, so it's a timing thing.
Exactly. When de Minaur played Djokovic recently, Djokovic was dealing with physical vulnerabilities. He had a hamstring issue and simply, the natural slowing down that comes with age.
Right, he's in his late 30s now.
Yeah. Djokovic relies heavily on precision and tactical brilliance at this stage. So de Minaur's incredible speed could actually expose the physical gaps that have started to appear in Djokovic's armor.
But Alcaraz and Sinner don't have those gaps.
Not even close. They represent a completely different beast entirely. They aren't slowing down. Not only can they match de Minaur's movement, but they bring this overwhelming, almost violent baseline power that Djokovic just doesn't rely on in the same way anymore.
So it isn't just a matter of de Minaur needing to run faster or try a little harder in the gym. The answer comes down to something much less romantic. It's the ruthless physics of modern tennis.
Pure physics.
Yeah.
This isn't about heart or effort. It is pure mechanics. Let's get tactical for a second and look at how these guys actually strike the ball.
Okay, lay it on me.
So de Minaur hits very flat ground strokes. When he makes contact with the ball, his racket face is relatively square to it, meaning it doesn't impart a lot of topspin.
Because he's hitting through the ball, not brushing up on it.
Right. And because of that, the ball travels in a very straight line. The geometry of a tennis court means a flat ball barely clears the net. If you are hitting flat, your margin for error is essentially 0.
Wow, yeah. Because if he aims just a fraction of an inch too low, it clips the tape and it's in the net.
Yep.
But if he swings a fraction too hard, that straight line carries the ball right past the baseline.
That 0 marks in reality is the entire problem for him. Now, compare his ball striking to Sinner and Alcaraz. They hit with massive natural power, but they combine it with incredibly heavy topspin.
So they are brushing up the back of the ball.
Exactly, putting exceptionally high revolutions on it. And what that spin does aerodynamically, through what physicists call the Magnus effect, is yank the ball down hard into the court.
So the spin acts like a gravitational cheat code.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. It's a cheat code.
Right.
And because they have that, it completely changes their court positioning and their safety margins.
It lets them swing out without fear.
Exactly. It allows them to hit the ball significantly harder, aim much higher over the net, which gives them a massive safety cushion, and the spin guarantees it will still dive down safely inside the baseline.
That sounds incredibly hard to play against.
It is. It also allows them to create extreme sharp angles that flat hitters just cannot physically produce because a flat ball hit at that angle would just fly wide. De Minaur himself actually admitted this stylistic nightmare to reporters.
What did he say?
He said that playing at the extreme ball speed required to keep up with those two was just immensely risky for him. Without that heavy spin to drag the ball down, trying to match their pace means he's constantly flirting with unforced errors.
And we really can't talk about physics without talking about the most important shot in tennis, which is the serve.
Oh, absolutely. The serve is critical here.
If you look at de Minaur's biomechanics, he's listed around 6 feet tall, which, might be average or even slightly above average in the real world, but in elite tennis, that is undersized.
Oh yeah, he is definitely on the smaller end for the ATP Tour.
He doesn't have the height of a 6'6" giant like Zverev or Medvedev. Those taller guys are literally hitting downwards into the service box, but de Minaur actually has to hit slightly up to clear the net, relying on gravity to drop the ball in.
Which is a huge mechanical disadvantage.
Right. That natural trajectory severely caps his maximum speed. He just cannot hit a flat 135-mile-per-hour serve consistently without it sailing wrong.
Which means he rarely gets free points. And that physical limitation rapidly becomes a psychological one. I mean, you could probably relate to this. Think about a time you were given a critical task at work, or maybe even a home repair, where you had absolutely zero margin for error.
Oh, I hate that feeling. You just freeze up.
Right. The psychological stress of knowing one tiny mistake ruins the whole project actually causes you to tense up and make mistakes.
Yeah.
That is de Minaur's baseline existence when he plays Alcaraz.
Man, that physical and mental collision really came to a head at the 2026 Australian Open quarterfinal.
Oh, that match was tough to watch.
Yeah, de Minaur lost to Alcaraz 7-5, 6-2, 6-1. The sources paint this really sobering scene after the match. So, de Minaur is sitting in the cool-down room with his mentor, the Australian tennis legend Lleyton Hewitt.
Right.
And de Minaur just holds his arms out, palms facing up in total helplessness, just like, what am I supposed to do? In that match, the stats show he was forced into nearly twice as many errors as Alcaraz.
Because the panic just sets in. De Minaur knows he has almost no margin for error during the baseline rallies, so he knows he desperately needs those free points on his serve to survive.
So he presses.
He overpresses. He tries to hit his serve harder and closer to the lines than his biomechanics safely allow. Against Alcaraz in that quarterfinal, his first serve percentage dropped to just 55%.
Wow, 55, that's low.
It's way too low against a top player.
Yeah.
Because when you miss your first serve almost half the time, you have to hit a slower, highly predictable second serve to make sure you don't double fault.
And guys like Sinner and Alcaraz will just absolutely devour a weak second serve.
They feast on it.
So it's this vicious, self-fulfilling cycle. He pushes the serve because he fears the baseline rally. He misses the serve because he's pushing, and then he gets punished on the return anyway.
Exactly. It unravels his whole game.
But, identifying a fundamental flaw in your physics and genetics is one thing. How does a world-class athlete actually attempt to fix it when they are already 27 years old? You can't just unlearn 2 decades of muscle memory.
No, you can't. You turn to your war room. De Minaur has assembled this incredibly loyal, highly specialized team trying to solve this exact puzzle.
Like a real brain trust.
Exactly. This isn't just a group of guys hitting balls. He's been with his main coach, Adolfo Gutierrez, for over 15 years.
Wow, 15 years is a long time in tennis.
It is. And he has Emilio Jose Poveda, who handles his fitness and injury prevention. And get this, he's actually been with him for over 25 years.
25 years. That is basically unheard of longevity in pro tennis.
It really is. And on top of that, he brought on former pro Peter Lutzak, specifically for mental conditioning.
Which makes total sense because, as we just established, the problem isn't just his racket, it's the neurological panic that sets in when he's down love 15 against a heavy hitter.
Precisely. Lutzak's job is to rewire that exact panic response. And of course, he has Lleyton Hewitt in his corner, providing that trademark tactical grit.
So what's the plan? What does this brain trust actually do?
Well, together they realize they can't magically give him a massive topspin forehand. You just can't completely rebuild a fundamental swing path at 27 without breaking the player entirely.
Right. So if he can't suddenly grow 3 inches or change his core forehand grip, the only closed skill shot he fully controls, like from a completely stationary position, is the serve. That has to be where they are spending their hours.
And that is the exact tactical shift they are attempting. De Minaur recently stated that the goal isn't to suddenly start bombing serves at 135 miles per hour. It's about finding a highly delicate balance.
Threading the needle.
Right. He needs a high percentage of first serves to actually land in the box, but he has to hit them with enough varied spin and placement that they don't lose their effectiveness. He's trying to thread that needle between consistency and aggression.
It's a tightrope walk.
It is, and finding that specific balance is the tightrope walk that has cost him those crucial matches against the elite.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because up to this point, we've been hyper-focused on Alcaraz and Sinner as this immovable, two-headed monster at the very top.
Yeah, the heavyweights.
But the sources reveal a much deeper problem that extends beyond just the top two. Let's look at his early 2026 season. Overall, his win record is incredibly solid. He had 12 wins and 5 losses, which is about a 70% win rate.
That's a great win rate for anyone on tour.
It is, but in March 2026, he suffered these absolute nightmare early exits in both Acapulco and Miami. And who knocked him out in Miami? Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Another player defined by an incredibly heavy spin-loaded ball.
Exactly. And Tsitsipas currently boasts an astonishing 14-2 head-to-head record over de Minaur.
14-2. That's a tough pill to swallow.
So my question to you is, if he's still getting blown off the court by Tsitsipas in the early rounds of tournaments, do all these mental conditioning sessions, all these incremental serving tweaks, do they even matter? Or is de Minaur's physical ceiling just hard-capped across the board against absolutely anyone who can hit a heavy, high RPM ball?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals the true mountain he's trying to climb. De Minaur has stated that his ultimate career goal is to win a Grand Slam.
Right.
But a Grand Slam isn't a single tennis match. It is a grueling 2-week marathon where you have to win 7 best-of-5-set matches. Because de Minaur cannot generate free power, and because players like Tsitsipas, Sinner, and Alcaraz force him to defend so frantically, every single match he plays is exhausting.
Going back to the boxing thing, he's the lightweight boxer taking heavy body blows for 5 sets straight just to survive the early rounds.
Yes, and the physical toll compounds. Think about it. Even if his team perfectly executes a brilliant game plan and he somehow out-hustles a Tsitsipas or a Sinner in a grueling 5-set epic on a Tuesday, what does his body look like on Thursday for the next round?
He'd be completely shattered.
Completely. Surviving 2 weeks against a gauntlet of these heavy hitters requires an efficiency of energy that his specific counter-punching game style simply does not allow. He's spending $10 of energy for every $5 his opponents spend.
Man, when you frame it like that, it really makes you appreciate just how remarkable it is that he has climbed to world number 6 with those inherent physical limitations.
He really is. He's phenomenal.
He truly is the ultimate maximizer. He has squeezed every single drop of potential out of his speed, his timing, and his heart. But Sinner and Alcaraz, and even Tsitsipas, represent a stylistic wall built on pure physics.
You do.
So I want to bring this back to you listening to this right now. Think about that moment when you hit a hard ceiling in your own life. When your absolute best effort is perfectly countered by the competition or the market or whatever it is you're facing.
It's a crossroads moment.
Exactly. Do you double down on the skills that got you there, hoping for a tiny incremental breakthrough? Or do you take the terrifying leap to completely reinvent yourself, risking everything you've built?
That's the million-dollar question.
De Minaur is choosing to double down. He's trying to refine the margins of his serve and his mental state rather than tearing his game down to the studs.
Which is probably the only realistic option at his age, but it raises an important question about the tragedy of timing in sports.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. If de Minaur had peaked in a different era, say, in that brief transitional window between the decline of the big three of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic and the rise of this new, monstrously powerful generation of Sinner and Alcaraz, would he already have a Grand Slam trophy on his mantle?
Oh, wow. Yeah, he very well might have.
He certainly has the mental toughness of a champion. But the harsh reality of sports is that you don't get to choose your era. Players like Sinner and Alcaraz are exactly the kind of generational talents that force the rest of the world and the sport of tennis itself to evolve.
They raise the bar for everyone.
They raise the baseline of what is physically required just to step onto the court.
So what does this all mean? It leaves you to ponder a really complex question about how we define success. Is being an incredible overachiever, someone who maxes out their genetic gifts but falls just short of the ultimate prize because they were born into an era of giants? Is that a tragedy?
I don't think it is.
Right. Or, in a world where so much natural talent goes completely wasted, is maximizing your potential and stepping into the ring with the heavyweights anyway the truest badge of honor you can wear?
That's a great way to look at it.
Maybe the measure of greatness isn't whether or not you break the glass ceiling, but how hard and how relentlessly you're willing to hit it. And it leaves you to wonder, in a sports science landscape that is constantly advancing, will the speed demon archetype eventually go extinct entirely? As racket technology and physical conditioning allow the heavyweights to move just as fast as the lightweights, we might be watching the very last of the pure counterpunchers.
It's very possible.
Think about that the next time you watch him play.